How you doing? My name's Tommy. Welcome to the Normal Guy's Perspective. I gotta put on my serious hat today and talk about a tragedy. On July 28th, 2025, a lone gunman, who shall go unnamed, entered a midtown Manhattan skyscraper and shot 5 people, killing 4 of them and critically wounding the 5th. Among this monster's victims was an NYPD officer by the name of Darul Islam. An absolute tragedy all around, and all I can say is that my thoughts and my prayers go to these people. The shooter entered the building completely unabated, didn't even make an effort to conceal his weapon or what his intentions were. Not a single person gave him a second glance before the shots were fired. If it wasn't for the fact that this savage decided to end the rampage of his own accord and put a bullet in his sick little brain, who knows how many people could have been hurt before anything was done about it. And of course, naturally, the Democrats, and their knack for not letting a tragedy go to waste, have already started using it to push their agenda about gun control. Every time there's an incident involving weapons, and somehow it's always an AR-15 style assault weapon, whatever that means, they all come out of the woodworks with their usual crap about, quote, common sense gun control, unquote. This is, of course, despite the fact that time and time again, gun control efforts are proven to be completely useless. Right? Well, that actually brings me to today's topic. I'm not actually here to talk about the shooting, the Democrats, or even the failures of New York City. I'm here to share some interesting things that I learned about gun control while I was researching for this video. You see, I initially went out looking for data to prove what I thought was common knowledge, that cities and states with high gun control still have high levels of gun violence. But the data I found actually surprised me a bit. I discovered this chart from Statista.com that ranks states by number of homicides committed with firearms in the year 2023. And I was genuinely not expecting this result. Of the top 13 states on that list, only 4 of them were blue, Democrat-led states, which is typically where gun control is, far more heavily implemented. You're more likely to see gun control laws in a blue state than a red state. What really surprised me, although I guess in hindsight it's not that surprising, was that Texas, which is the generally considered, I should say, the most gun-friendly state in the country, was at number 1. Of course, it wasn't exactly a huge lead for Texas. California, which is probably the biggest Democrat shithole in the world, is at a very close number 2. And that kind of backs up my additional idea of gun control states still having high gun crime. Illinois is another blue state, and that's number 3, no shock there, considering that it contains Chicago, the worst city in America by virtue of, among other things, being the home of CM Punk. This is actually the moment where my initial video idea switched from ragging on gun control to actually being a little bit more curious about it. You see, I was still coping pretty hard holding on to my previous beliefs of Democrat states being the bad ones, so my next inquiry was about which states had the most violent crime. According to the second chart I found, also from Statista.com, these are the states with the highest violent crime per capita, and my tiny little heart breathed a sigh of relief. This one has 5 blue states. So, I guess that proves my point, right? No, it doesn't. But what does it say? Well, it certainly shattered my preconceived notion that red states are all safe and civilized. If anything, I'd argue that these graphs show what it shows is that violent crime, gun-related or otherwise, is actually split pretty evenly throughout the country. It's like a 45-55 split between blue and red, so clearly the politics is not the source behind it. So, does gun control work? Well, despite all this data, I'd still say no, not really. You see, because despite heavy restrictions on guns in most of these blue states, many of them still have really high numbers of gun-related deaths, especially California. Chicago is considered one of the most violent cities in the country, and Detroit has literally been called Murder City and the murder capital of the United States. Even New York's heavy gun control laws didn't stop this psychopath from committing his crime. This guy literally got his guns in another state and drove across the entire country to commit his crime. I'm sorry, but there's no amount of gun control that's going to stop somebody who's that dedicated. Hell, if someone is really really serious about committing a mass attack, they don't even need a gun. There's this idiot in Michigan, another one of them blue states, go figure. This guy went on a mass stabbing in a Walmart and injured 11 people. Now, if you're like me and you failed math in the 4th grade, that's about 6 more victims than the New York shooting. But thankfully, in this case, nobody died. Look, the point that I'm trying to make is that no, gun control doesn't work. Gun violence, like any other form of violence, is a symptom of something else. In this case, the savage that shot up that building in New York, he left a note behind blaming brain damage, specifically CTE, and he somehow convinced himself that it was the NFL's fault, even though he never actually played for them. I don't know. When you've got somebody that delusional, that determined to hurt people, you can take away his guns, but it's not going to matter, because he's just going to find another tool to do what he thinks he's got to do. So, if gun control isn't the solution, what is? I don't know. I guess all I can say is this. Wherever you are, stay safe. Stay smart. And remember, an armed society is dangerous, but a disarmed society is helpless. But who cares what I think? I'm just a normal guy.